Alright, so we're going to go over the installation of the new one rig ice scratcher system on the Polaris Indy XCRs. So it's going to be your XCR 136 and your XCR 128. So it's a little bit different install than the other Indy sleds and the Matryx 146 sleds. It's a little bit more involved, but not bad. So when you get your parts, you'll open the box, and in the box will be this assortment of items. You have your scratcher mounts here, your storage brackets here, your storage hooks here, your actual ice scratchers, and then your miscellaneous hardware to assemble it all together. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take your ice scratchers and install them onto the mounting brackets. So to do that, you're going to take this hardware here, this 3/8 bolt, this washer, and this plug. You put it all together. Washer first, slide the plug over, and this is going to go inside the ice scratcher like that. And then you can put it onto the mounting bracket. 3/8 bolt goes through the center hole, and you can see this machine slot here is going to align with the actual shape of the ice scratcher. Get it in, and then you'll see on the back side here is this machine slot, this cavity, and that is sized properly for the lock nut on the back side. And what I like to do is, once you get it all in there, you hold it together with one hand, and then you're going to take 14mm socket, just lightly get it started to catch that nut. Once you catch that nut, then you can hold it nice and snug it down. Nice and firm. Your bolt should be protruding through the nut. It's probably can even go a little bit more than that. Perfect. And so you do that for both sides. Take your other mounting bracket, your other scratcher, put that on as well. And next, we'll need to prep the sled. So to install the ice scratcher, there'll be a few factory bolts and fasteners that need to come off. So first of all, we're going to take off both front buggy wheels. So that's going to be a 10mm socket and a 10mm wrench. Wrench on the inside, socket on the outside, zip it off. Take that out. It's a good time while you have it off to check your bearings here. A little bit of rust, we'll clean that one up. And then you'll also need to take off the bogey wheel bolt here for the middle bogey wheel and the lower bogey wheel bolt here on this rear idler. So we'll take those off. 10mm once again. And carefully get the washer and nut without dropping it. Take that bolt out. You can leave that bogey wheel on. And last one. And the last thing you'll need to remove is this, well, actually two more things. We'll need to remove this cross shaft bolt. So that's going to be 13mm. Take that out. And then the trickiest one is this front axle bolt. So that's going to be 15mm on each side. It's easier with two people, but it's certainly doable with just yourself. And if it hasn't been off much, you might need a breaker bar, especially if you don't have a good quality impact for the, let's see. Yeah, I can zip that off. And then if this doesn't push out, you might need to give it a tap. And then you probably can zip it up from the other side. Yeah, we'll zip it up from the other side. So other side of the sled. Move over here, we'll just take that axle bolt right out. Zip that guy out here. And just make sure nothing's under tension when you pull that out. All right, so now we have the sled prepped. I went ahead and I pulled bolts on this side, same as the other side. So your next step is going to be to actually install the ice scratchers and the mounted ice scratchers. So I have one here for this side. It's going to mount in this location here. So use that front axle bolt and this bogey wheel bolt. So we can put your axle bolt back through. And then put our bogey wheel bolt through. And you're gonna use the provided M6 lock nut with the kit on this bogey wheel here. Start it hand tight. Make sure we're catching the threads properly. Careful not to drop that washer. And then we'll need our 10mm socket and our 10mm wrench to tie that up. And grab that. So we'll tighten this one back down since this is ready to go. Careful not to over tighten that. If you're using impact, you can strip those threads because it's a small bolt. All right, so that's on. We can install the storage bracket on this side. So you take your storage bracket here, your storage hook, nut and lock washer. Thread this into the bracket. Just get it pretty close. And we'll tighten that up once it's on the sled. And it's gonna install right here using the rear either wheel bolt and this cross shaft bolt. So when you put this cross shaft bolt back on, Loctite's our friend. And that's going to be your 13mm socket. So we'll snug this up to hold it on. And then we can put our bogey wheel back on. You have to hold that bolt from the inside. The bolt head is captured by the casting. So you got to kind of contort your hand a little bit, but you can get it. And we'll zip that down. Perfect. You can tighten this up. Torque that down. And so now we have our ice scratcher and our storage bracket installed on this side. But before we put this bogey wheel back on, we have to go to the other side, install it again, and then we'll torque down this bolt. So let's hop on over to the other side. All right, the same process over here. Mount up our ice scratcher. Gonna use the new M6 lock nut for the bogey wheel. Put that on. Put your washer on. Be careful not to drop it. And take your new lock nut. Start the threads by hand on that. All right. And then provided in the kit is going to be a new lock nut for the front axle bolt. And this is going to take a 17mm socket. Start those threads by hand. All right. And then we can put on our storage bracket, same as the other side. Put the hook on the bracket. We'll Loctite that in. Apply the Loctite. This is blue Loctite, medium strength. $13mm. Install the rear either wheel bolt. Now we can zip this on tighter. All right, and we'll come back and torque that with a torque wrench to manufacturer's spec. Now we can zip on the bogey wheels. Take our 10 and 10. That on. All right, and this is probably the trickiest part of the whole install, is tightening this bolt. It's much easier with two people. You're gonna need a 15mm on the bolt end and a 17 on this end. And we're gonna torque that down. Let's get our 17. We're gonna tighten it to manufacturer's spec. And then the trick I'm going to use on the other side to do this by myself is to take a breaker bar and my 15mm socket, and we'll go over to this side of the sled. And again, way easier with two people, but if it's just one person, you can take it, you can put your breaker bar on there, and put your breaker bar through the running boards. And that'll hold it just enough so you can get on the other side with the torque wrench and tighten it down. And once that's tightened down, we can take our bogey wheel and reassemble this guy. Again, 10mm, both sides. And once you got that done, we'll repeat that on the other side, install the bogey wheel on the other side, and we're good to go. We've got our ice scratcher mounted up here. It engages properly in the storage hook. And just like that, you have installed your new One Rig ice scratchers on a Polaris Indy XCR.